Notre Dame is letting their preferences be known for the college football playoff format, and they don't like the Big Ten's plan for automatic qualifiers if we expand to 16 teams. I say Notre Dame should shut their mouth until they join a conference like everybody else. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And share it, like, and follow. That helps us out as well. So the Golden Domers are trying to exert their opinion on the college football playoff format. We've got the latest news and recruiting, and Urban Meyer with a tip on the Texas-Ohio State game, by the way, plus our Big Ten Classics going into the weekend. So let's get into it. Notre Dame Athletic Director Pete Bevequa, he has let it be known that Notre Dame does not like the Big Ten's proposal for the college football playoff format when we expand to 16 teams, with the Big Ten getting 4 automatic qualifiers, the SEC getting 4 automatic qualifiers, and so on and so forth. The truth is, everybody outside of the Big Ten doesn't really like that plan either. It's Tony Petitti's plan, the commissioner of the Big Ten. And look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody except Notre Dame. They should keep their mouths shut right now for the time being. Should sit this one out. In fact, I don't want to hear their opinion until they man up and join a conference like every other Power 4 team in college football. Everydayers to Locked On Big Ten know my stance on this. And if you're new here, or if you're a Notre Dame fan, my stance is that I am sick and tired of college football treating Notre Dame like they're their own conference. Always got special rules for Notre Dame. I don't like it. It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. You know, why are they a member of the college football playoff format committee that consists of nothing but conference commissioners? Oh, and Notre Dame's athletic director. Why does that one person have the same amount of power and voting power and whatnot as a conference commissioner? Now, as we move forward with the Big Ten and the SEC having all the power, it doesn't matter as much. But I don't need their opinion right now. I mean, I get it. Notre Dame's an independent because we let them be independent. We should not do that anymore. They should be like everybody else. You know, Notre Dame is no more special or powerful than USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, or Alabama. They're just not. So why do we let them have special rules? I've said this before. This isn't the 1940s, or when the 4 horsemen aren't going to come into the stadium anymore. Those days, the days of yesteryear are over. Notre Dame's not special anymore. They're the same as everybody else. So make them play by the same rules as everybody else. Why do we continue to let them have as much say or as much power as any given conference? I'm sure Michigan athletic director Ward Manuel or Ohio State's Ross Bjork, I'm sure they would love to have that much power. But those guys defer to a commissioner, Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti. That's how it works. It should work that way for everybody. It should be a level playing field. But no matter what format we have for the playoffs, whether, you know, in the past, if it was a BCS, or if it was a 14 playoff, or a 16 playoff, or a 12-team playoff, we always have special rules for Notre Dame to have a shot to get to the playoffs. Why is that? Why? Stop it. There's no need for it. They're not, look, they're special. They're not more special than anybody else. You know, and if they get into the playoffs, they get to keep all the TV money to themselves. The other schools, they have to share it with the other members in their conference. In this day of revenue share and athletic budgets, does anyone outside of Notre Dame think that's fair? I don't. Penn State coach James Franklin has been very outspoken about this for a decade. He agrees with me. He's long stated that Notre Dame needs to be in a conference and level the playing field. Now, his perspective was from mostly that other teams have conference championships. And who knows if conference championships are going by the wayside if we end up having playing games. I don't know. That's getting ahead of it. But he's like, for right now, the good teams have to expose themselves to an extra game and a conference championship game. They could suffer injuries. They could suffer a loss and maybe fall in the ratings just a little bit of the rankings. Notre Dame doesn't. They play the regular season and they just sit back and watch. And then they join the fun later on because we let them in. I'm not saying there aren't years where Notre Dame's good enough to be a playoff team. Last year they were. But man, it irks me. They always got special rules and special paths to get into the. Well, we got to do all these considerations, these conference champions and these at large, and oh yeah, Notre Dame. It's always oh yeah, Notre Dame. I don't like it. It's not fair. There's nobody out there could tell me. Nobody watching out there, nobody listening out there right now could tell me any differently. That oh yeah, we need to have special rules for Notre Dame. Nobody, because we don't. There's not a leg to stand on, except for the Notre Dame people who think that they are special. Oh, and you run into one of those. That's a long conversation, right? It's all an issue of fairness here. And by the way, speaking of fairness, Franklin is also on the bandwagon that all conferences need to play the same amount of games, like 9 conference games. Do you hear that, SEC? By the way, that includes Notre Dame. They play 0 conference games. I know some of you say, well, they got that partial ACC. No, doesn't count. Back to Notre Dame. The reason they don't like the Big Ten's plan is because it would be part of the 4-4-2-2-3-1 model, which only has 3 at-large teams, only 3 spots for Notre Dame. Notre Dame, like the other conferences, they want the 5+11 format, where there are 11 at-large bids. That significantly increases Notre Dame's chances of getting a playoff spot. That's why they want that. That's why they don't want the Big Ten plan. Again, special rules for Notre Dame. By the way, with the current 12-team format, there are 7 at-large bids. So Notre Dame likes that format. It worked out for them pretty well last year. And again, last year, deservedly so. They were one of the best teams in the country. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the whole broad picture year after year after year. You know, another reason Notre Dame doesn't like Petitti's playoff plan is he's for these play-in games. He wants to replace championship weekend with play-in games. Notre Dame can't participate in that. They don't have a conference to play in with. There's nobody to play with. So again, being an independent, just one main school we're really basically talking about. You can count how many independent schools there are in the entire country on one hand. You don't even need one hand. But Notre Dame's the main one we're always talking about here. But until they join a conference, or better yet, until they are forced to join a conference by the powers that be, they should just pipe down right now. I don't want to hear from them. Consider themselves to be lucky to be involved in this process at all. Just let the big boys sit back and make all the decisions moving forward. Which, by the way, that's going to happen anyway. All the power now this year has shifted to the Big Ten and the SEC, Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey. Now, if only those two could agree. That's a whole nother subject for another day, maybe tomorrow on Lockdown Big Ten. I would love your comments. I know I'm going to hear from the Golden Domers out there. Oh, they're going to throw their ire and hatred at me here. I think a lot of people will agree with me, though, for the most part. Be sure to hit that subscribe button after you leave a comment. Subscribe. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And share, follow, and like Lockdown Big Ten as well. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com, where we put all of our podcasts chronologically. We group them by teams in the Big Ten, and we also have links to where you could buy Big Ten merchandise from your favorite Big Ten school. If you want a shirt, t-shirt, hat, brand new for the 2025 season, show a little school spirit, we've got that for you there on that link at Talk Big 10. That's the number 10, talkbig10.com. Oh, we got a lot of recruiting news, a lot of stuff going on here. Bryce Underwood's getting involved. Illinois' got a new quarterback. Oh, and we also have an inside look at the Texas Ohio State game. Urban Meyer had a little something there. Oh, and back to recruiting for a moment. We're switching from 26 to the class of 2027. Some interesting stuff out there. We got it all. We got a lot to do right here. It's all coming up in 1 minute as we continue right here on Locked On Big Ten. Drip drop. Let me tell you about this. Look, if you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether it's workouts or long days on campus or staying focused through, meetings, classes, whatever it is you do, hydration is where it starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. It helps with everything, whether your focus or your mood, your complexion, all that. You got to be hydrated, right? Drip Drop is a doctor developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose, and helps your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. My favorite flavor, peach. Love the peach flavor. Passion fruit, love that as well. It's a game changer after a cardio workout. I live in Florida. Well, I just step outside and I just sweat. I got to rehydrate all the time. It's what I do. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. And like I said, here in Florida, it is always hot. Get yourself some Drip Drop today. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. Even if you're a Notre Dame fan, check us out. Keep an eye on us. Also, don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. Michigan is about to see the debut of their number 1 recruit, the number 1 quarterback in the country, when Bryce Underwood takes the field. And they're all about getting these number 1 recruits this year. Moving forward, they're looking ahead to 2027 already, and another highly rated quarterback, class of 2027, Elijah Haven, 6'4", 205 pounds. According to his family, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida, LSU, Alabama, all strongly in the mix. His dad, though, says Sharon Moore is cool. We'll take that, right, if you're recruiting. And we're still on running back watch for the number 1 running back that's out there, 5-star for the class of 2026, Savion Hyder. We talk about him all the time here. He's going to make his commitment announcement on August 19th. That happens to be Bryce Underwood's birthday. He turns 18 there, and he has been recruiting him. Right now, Hyder's looking at Michigan and Tennessee. There are a lot of people out there that says Tennessee's kind of grabbing the lead here. Ohio State and Georgia also in his Final Four. So Underwood's been recruiting him, calling him, talking to him, and talking it up in Michigan. And we'll see if it works. Got a few more weeks to check that out. Also, the Fighting Illini also looking to the future. They got a recent commitment from class of 27 4-star quarterback Camden Lapati from Salt Lake City, Utah. As we reported earlier, he was considering several Big Ten schools like Oregon and Washington and Purdue, as well as Utah and Arizona. Good size, 6'3", 215 pounds. And this is the Illini's first commit for the class of 2027. Quite an athlete. His freshman year in high school, he actually played wide receiver, had 29 catches and 500 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Then he moved to quarterback his sophomore year, where he threw for over 3,000 yards and 25 touchdowns and only had 4 picks. Phenomenal numbers. So the future looks bright post Luke Altmaier and beyond for Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini. Now, when it comes to Ohio State recruiting wide receivers with offensive coordinator and their wide receiver coach, Brian Hartline, we get it, right? It's wide receiver you. And as Buckeye fans know, that he already landed Chris Henry Jr., 5-star for 2026. Hartline's moving on to the class of 2027. He's got an eye on a 5-star who's currently the number 2 receiver in the country, Monshun Sales, 6'5" already. Big target. He's at Lawrence North in Indianapolis. And that should sound familiar to Buckeyes fans, because that's where former Buckeyes basketball star Greg Oden went to school back in the day. So this receiver's got plans to visit Columbus, but also Michigan and Notre Dame and Indiana and LSU and Texas A&M. But it's early. We'll see where he's going. It might come down to the Buckeyes or the Trojans for another player, a 4-star defensive lineman, Ronaldo Perez. Now, while the Trojans have the top recruiting class in the country for 2026, they have no commitments right now for 2027. And he said that he also said Ohio State's pushing them pretty hard as well. Other Big Ten schools like Michigan State, Purdue, and Rutgers are interested, but it looks like the Buckeyes might be in the lead for his services right now. Then there's four-star linebacker Cooper Witten. He's from Argyle, Texas. He's the top linebacker in the country for the class of 2027. He's got offers from Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Oklahoma, Georgia. Ole Miss jumped on him pretty early here, but Witten said that his phone's been blowing up all of a sudden from coaches from about mid-June on. He says it's nice. It's nice to be wanted. It's nice to be looked at. But he says it's a little overwhelming right now. He's trying to get it all organized in his head. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, Cooper Witten, he's a 6'1", 210-pound rising junior. He is the son of former Cowboys tight end Jason Witten. Great tight end. His son plays on the defensive side of the ball. So, Michigan State, they got a top 25 class for the class of 2026. Now they're going to start looking at class of 2027, and they're going to host offensive tackle Dewey Young. He is a four-star in-state product from Kalamazoo, and he plans to visit Penn State and Indiana and Kansas as well. But Michigan State might have an edge here. His dad is former Spartans tight end Dwayne Young, who played from 1987 to 1990. His older brother DJ Young played tackle for the Spartans. So if they keep it all in the family, maybe they get this legacy. Dewey Young, class of 2027. And finally, we're looking forward to this season opener, right? With Texas and Ohio State. Can't wait. National televised game on Fox at noon. Arch Manning and Texas coming in, taking on Julian Sayin, making his starting debut for the Buckeyes, who are the defending national champions. I can tell you right now, we're going to go live after that game here on we do live shows during the season. So keep that in mind here on Locked On Big Ten. But former Buckeyes coach Urban Meyer, he says that if Arch Manning struggles in this game, he said, don't be surprised. Well, okay, so what's he talking about? He says, look, there's a lot of hype around Arch, which there is, and that comes with being a Manning. You put Manning on the back of your jersey, you're going to get a lot of attention. He said there'll be a tremendous amount of pressure on him in front of a national television audience, a crazy crowd there at Ohio State, and he's going to be asked to perform in that environment against a great team. And he said, don't be surprised if he doesn't look spectacular on day one. He kind of said, hey, you heard it here first kind of thing. All right, fine, Urban. We'll give you credit for that one. So that's something to keep an eye on for that game. Look, you can point in the other direction and say Julian Sayin making his first start in his first big game. He can be a little nervous too. So we can't wait. We'll count that game down. And we'll be talking doing a little previewing and strengths and weaknesses on that game coming up here in a few more weeks. All right, if you are new to our podcast or a Notre Dame fan that just joined us, we always do features at the end of our podcast that make us kind of unique from everybody else. On Mondays, we do our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets. Follow us at Twitter at Talk Big Ten. Wednesdays, we like to power rank stuff. Could be anything from mascots to helmets to quarterbacks. Did quarterbacks this way. In fact, if you missed our quarterback rankings, see where Julian Sayin is, who I just talked about. Bryce Underwood, Drew Eller. We ranked them 1 through 18. Yesterday's podcast. Afterward, go back for a second listen, see where your quarterback came in. Our quarterback rankings for the Big Ten. Thursdays, we look at the Big Ten Network. We are not affiliated with them, but we obviously have the same interest. And we look at their Big Ten Classics lineup over the weekend, and we highlight some things that we think you might be interested in watching if you want to get out of the heat. Go ahead and check it out. So that's coming up next. By the way, Fridays, we do pigskin picks or odds or something of that sort. We'll do that tomorrow as well. But we have our Big Ten Classics coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it's time for our daily feature. We're going to take a look at Big Ten Classics on the Big Ten Network this weekend. If you're on audio only, We're going to put it on screen here so you could, well, I'll tell you what's on screen. If you can't see it, obviously, if you're on audio only. So here, we didn't put the whole Big Ten Network lineup. I just picked a few highlights of a few things we think you'd be interested in going into the weekend. Hard to believe it's August already, but Friday is August 1st. These times are Eastern times that we have listed here. We started out Friday at 5:30 p.m. There is a Penn State football classic. Penn State at USC. It's from this past season in October. That was a great game. Tyler Warren, who's now in the NFL, set a school record with 224 receiving yards. Drew Aller passed for 394 yards to help the fourth-ranked Nittany Lions clinch a 33-30 overtime victory against the Trojans at the Coliseum. That was a great game. It really was. Now, here's another thing the Big Ten Network does. This time of year, they start traveling around to camps. They'll visit all 18 teams, they'll interview coaches and players. I find this pretty interesting. I always watch it every year. And Friday, you can catch up. They visit Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola, and did Nebraska. So you can check that out. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern on Friday, their visit to the Nebraska camp, and see what their hopes are for this season. Certainly big expectations for Nebraska to take another step forward here this year. And I think that should be fun. All right. After that, you can then watch a Nebraska football classic. The Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, Nebraska versus Boston College, is from December, where Dylan Raiola passed for 228 yards and a touchdown to lead the Huskers to a 2015 victory over the Eagles at Yankee Stadium. All right, so these are just a couple things I picked out for you on Friday. And let's see what we got on Saturday, August 2nd. We'll pick it up at 12:30 Eastern, a Michigan football classic. It's Michigan at Ohio State, just from last year. You know how that went. Michigan with the big upset that really rankled Ohio State. It could be argued that it kind of got Ohio State fired up enough to go on that crazy impressive run in the postseason on their way to a national championship. Michigan, of course, tried to plant their flag at the 50-yard line. It created a whole thing. But that game, you can watch it 12:30 on the Big Ten Network, Saturday afternoon, 12:30 Eastern. After that, 2 o'clock, they got an Indiana football classic. Washington at Indiana. That is from October. Justice Ellison rushed for 123 yards and a touchdown, and the 13th ranked Hoosiers won 31-17 over the Huskies to start out 8-0 for the first time since 1967. Pretty good. Was that the one that Curtis Rourke broke his thumb in and then missed a week? I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, for the Hoosiers. And then at 7 o'clock Eastern, a Nebraska football classic. Wisconsin at Nebraska. This is from November. Emmett Johnson rushing for 114 yards. Dylan Raiola passing for 293 and a touchdown to help the Cornhuskers beat the Badgers in that one. All right, so let's take a look now to Sunday, August 3rd on the Big Ten Network at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We got one of those Big Ten football in 60s. Now, these are like Big Ten football classics, but they're edited down snap to snap. You get a whole game in just 60 minutes, a condensed version, but you don't miss a single play. And this is from November, where Dylan Gabriel passed for a touchdown and ran for another score to help the top-ranked, to lead the top-ranked Ducks. That's Dylan Gabriel rushing for 38-17 victory over the Wolverines. And then I mentioned the training camps like they've been doing in Nebraska. They got one with PJ Fleck in Minnesota. That will air at 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. By the way, both the Minnesota and the Minnesota features, the Nebraska and the Minnesota features that they will air multiple times throughout the weekends. I've just mentioned this one. I mentioned the Nebraska one Friday night and the Minnesota one late Saturday morning. If you want to check that out, it is on other times if you want to check your grid on TV or your other listings. Let's see here. Let's flip. We got more for Sunday. We'll pick it up at 2 o'clock Eastern. A Wisconsin football classic, the Rose Bowl from 1994, January 1994, Wisconsin versus UCLA. We got Big Ten Player of the Year Brent Moss running for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Badgers defense forced 6 turnovers in that game in their 21-16 victory over the Bruins. 6 turnovers. At 4:30, we got a Michigan football classic. Notre Dame at Michigan from September of 2011. Now, Michigan fans will know this was the first night game at the Big House, nationally televised. This was one of the best college football games I've ever seen. What a fantastic fourth quarter this was, too. With Denard Robinson throwing a 16-yard touchdown pass to Roy Roundtree with 2 seconds left to lift the Wolverines to that thrilling 35-31 win over Notre Dame. I think that both teams scored twice late in the fourth quarter. It was crazy. Oh, the leads going back and forth. It was nuts. It was a great game. That is a classic. That is a classic of classics for a Michigan football classic. At 6 o'clock Eastern, we got more Minnesota football. Again, our Minnesota football classic, USC at Minnesota. This is from this last year. Yeah, USC upset. Remember, Max Prosper scoring the game-winning touchdown in the final minute to help the Golden Gophers upset the 11th-ranked Trojans 24-17. That was a great game, too, if you were a Gopher fan. USC didn't like it too much. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern, we've picked the Penn State Football Classic, their Rose Bowl, January of 95 against Oregon. That was the one where Kajana Carter rushed for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns, including an 83-yard touchdown run on their first play. And the second-ranked Nittany Lions got past the 12th-ranked Ducks 38-20 to complete their undefeated season. There you go. A lot of great classics over the weekend. I love it when they go straight wall to wall of these football classics time and time again. I always like watching them and kind of remember, where was I on that day in history? It kind of brings back memories of your childhood, what you were doing, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let me know what you think. If you watch those, maybe you have one that's a favorite for sure. All right, a couple things. If you're new to us, this is the only Big Ten podcast in the world. We do all 18 teams. We have the video version on YouTube, the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts. And we do news, analysis of that news, and opinion, all in one place, under one umbrella, right here at us every day. So if you're a Big Ten fan, and you are if you're watching, I know you know other Big Ten fans or family members. Let them know that we're out here each and every day. Say, hey, I checked this out. Go ahead and share this with them. Let them know. I think they'd be happy to know that we are out here each and every day. We'd like to add them to our subscriber list, which is free. We just got past 20,000 subscribers. We're ready to go for this season. We are as excited as anybody. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go. Go back for a second listen. Check out yesterday's if you missed it as well. I'll also invite you to check out a second listen for the Portal Show, all things transfer portal with our friend Brian Smith. It's also on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network as well, the Portal Show. That'll do it for us today. Thank you for spending some time with us, and I can't wait till we talk again tomorrow to send you into the weekend. We got teams at camp, lots to talk about. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll see you next time.